What is going on, guys? Matt Downs with Daily Grind Fantasy Sports to help give you the edge for this 12-fight MMA slate. Cannot wait to break it down. If you guys are brand new to this channel, we provide both free and paid content for all daily fantasy sports across all sports. If you could please show your support by hitting that subscribe button, notification bell, and of course smashing that like button for all of our future MMA content. If you would like to know more about becoming a better DFS player and taking down that big GPP, head over to www.patreon.com/DGFantasy for more information. On Patreon, we give advanced cheat sheets for all DFS sports on DraftKings. These cheat sheets include updated projections, ownership, and our overall favorite plays from slate to slate. We take it a step further by teaching you how to play fantasy sports like a shark, by showing you where the best leverage spots are to put you in the best spots to take down tourneys. Also included is our private Discord chat where you get to talk over the slate with everyone, including our coaches, to help build your lineups. Now let's go ahead and dive right into this MMA 12-fight slate. And with us, as always, Kevin. Thanks for showing up. Thanks for doing this. Let's go ahead and recap last weekend. How did we do, Kevin?
So last weekend was Fight Night, Edwards versus Muhammad. This night started awesome for us and ended pretty profitable, so I can't complain. But I just feel like with two no contests on the main card, there was a good amount of money left on the table. That being said, I think we crushed these fights, Matt. I actually, took it light this Saturday and made one lineup, and I just did one big GPP tourney, and I cashed. Could have been better if I had Leon. And obviously that was a no contest, but I can't wait to tell you the winner.
Yeah, you sent me a text about this, so I can't wait to hear more about it.
It's insane. But I cashed, did pretty well, but could have done a lot better. But let's go through the fight. So right off the rip, I had personally in that one lineup, I had Semmelsberger, who I marked green, and he scored amazingly with the new quick finish bonus.
Yes, he did. Called that.
That was literally, that was a perfect start for us. Said I like that fight a lot, so I took him. Jin Yu Frey was next, scored like crap, as I said, to fade her, and that was awesome. So I'd love to see that. I also said Aldrich was fadeable, and she will score like crap, and she did as well. Hack Paras was live for me, but wasn't my favorites, and wasn't my contest that I did. But he did one, didn't score too hot though, I don't think.
Nope.
Ronnie Yaya was one of my favorites, and I picked him in my contest, and he scored pretty damn well with the submission, so I was looking pretty good at 2-0 there. Jourdain, I didn't get him in there. I kind of chose Yaya over him, but I did love him. He made my list, and he did score a little better than Yaya, so that would have been nice to have him instead of Yaya, or both if I could have. But he did really well. What did he score again? Like 117?
Exactly, 117. Yep.
Okay, something like that. I said to avoid Angela Hill at her pricing, and she snoozed her way to victory. What did Angela Hill score?
76.76.
Absolutely miserable at her.
No, yeah, it's horrible.
Yeah,
good call.
That's terrible. So that was good to fade. Next was it's funny. Next was Eric Anders and
That's be the worst score I've ever seen as a winner.
I'll tell you. So that was one of the ones that ended in a no contest.
Oh, got it.
Yeah, I said it was live, and it's funny. Last thing I said was don't overexpose here, and obviously I had no idea that was going to happen, but that was just a happy accident that happened.
Yeah.
But it's funny. I will tell you 100%. I did say it was live, and Eric Anders would have made the optimal if that fight kept going.
100%. Yeah.
He had a crazy pace to him, but I'm telling you, man, I don't know what's up with these guys landing these illegal knees and stuff. And I think I know Herb Dean actually after said that he felt Darren Stewart baited Eric Anders into it. Maybe he dropped at the last second to get him to land that illegal knee. But these guys are friggin' morons, Matt. I don't know what's happening. Like straight up, like him and who was it? Jan, back-to-back weeks of throwing knees to down opponents. Like, you can make every excuse in the world and tell me, oh, there's a misunderstanding or the heat of the moment. There's the adrenaline. They didn't you're an idiot. You know the rules.
It's funny because the only couple times I've seen like a person use a knee has been to the head illegally. Like the only couple times I've seen that's like, what? Why would you do that? There's no point.
Job. You see his knee on the mat. You don't knee him in the face.
Yeah, exactly.
That's it. And yeah, it's crazy. But I don't know. Don't be a friggin' idiot. It's frustrating, especially I feel like we've been unlucky as MMA fans lately with just weird stuff happening, like opponents having back spasms backstage and not coming out and stuff. Like, we don't need stuff that's controllable like that. But anyway, next I had Nicolau in my lineup to make me 3-0, which was nice, though admittedly He didn't look super good. Surprised he actually won. I don't think he should have, and I don't think he scored too well because of that. I told you guys, I said Davey Grant Green, as he's done this before as the heavy underdog.
Sure did.
Look what happened. He did it again at 6,900. Matt did it again at 6,900. I mean,
Broke the
Davey
slate
Grant
for
is
sure.
yeah, broke the slate. He is just a punt king, I guess. This next fight was great for me on both sides, but this is where I took my L. I love this fight as a whole because the pace. I like Tucker and Ige. Unfortunately, in my line had Tucker, and Ige put the lights out quick with a quick finish bonus as well.
You can't call that taking an L. You took an underdog. That's not an L. But you got the high scoring rate in general for targeting the fight.
I like Ige too. He was green for me. I just obviously
he got you a measly 0.4 points. So
yeah, exactly. Well, he got knocked out fast. Yeah, I'm okay with that. I did pick Ige. Next fight, I said to 100% target, and I actually had Ryan Spawn, so he got the first round finish, so that was awesome for me. The main event was wildly disappointing with the second no contest of the card. Leon looked pretty good, and then I think it was eye poke.
Yep.
So tough break there. But that led to what I want to tell you guys about my contest. This is probably the craziest, but this just goes to show you.
Real quick, before you say how many people were in this contest?
That's what I'm gonna tell you. So you don't have to be perfect in MMA. You really don't. That's why we shoot for 6 winners all the time, Matt. If we can shoot for 6 winners, you don't know what else is going to happen. The chips can fall. You don't even need an optimal lineup. I told you in my last contest. Now, granted, my last contest where I did pretty well, where I came in, what was it, second out of 150? I think it was. I won like $400 or something. That was on a smaller contest. Like I said, second out of 150. And me and that kid didn't even have 6 winners. So obviously 6 winners probably would have beat us both out. Now that's a small contest. This one we're talking about that I did Saturday. 5,000 people, Matt, just under 5,000. I think it was 4,700 or something. I put $15 in one lineup. The kid who won it also put $15 in. I think it was his only lineup. Took down the contest. Okay. Won 20 grand all to himself. Didn't tie. Won 20 grand. Had 5 winners.
I was waiting for that punchline. It's crazy.
Had 5 winners.
Didn't even have all 6.
Didn't have 6 winners who weren't optimal. Didn't have 6 winners. His loser was Courtney Casey, who scored like 30, like not even that great.
Right.
Like, that is insane. He faded the main event, which knocked off like whatever, 75% of people off the rip. I don't know. Crazy, man.
Yeah, well, hey, that just goes to show you, like, imagine like crunching 150. It was 150 lineup max, right?
I want to say yes.
Okay. If it's 150 max and you just faded the main event, it shows you nowadays it's not even that contrarian because the main event hasn't hit the optimal the past 2 times. Well, the past 2 out of 3 times anyway. So it's just funny the way it works. Yes, this was an outlier. This one probably should have made the optimal. But guys, I mean, this is happening more and more. You know, the more main events that we watch, it's just crazy to me that things like that can happen. And like you said, he knocked out 75% of the public. Ironically, the top 25 cashed. So all of his lineups would have cashed if he just faded the main event. And it's crazy to think that way. But hey, it just goes to show you. It shows you that not. You can be too contrarian. It's like, anything can win in these contests nowadays. It's just crazy.
Yeah, that should give you some hope. I mean, the fact that, again, 5 winners. And I'll tell you right now, he also didn't have, who was it? And I don't know I think it was physically possible. It had to be, especially with a loser.
Right.
And it wasn't like that was the optimal because I was looking at the pricing and he could have had who I had. For the Courtney, who was it? Nicolau, who won, scored really bad. He could have had him in.
Yeah, the optimal did have 6 winners for what it's worth. The actual optimal. So
yeah, he was missing a big name in there, like one of the biggest scorers.
Sure.
I think he was missing Ronnie Aya or someone who scored over 100. So yeah. Anyway, super weird, but should give you hope.
Give you hope even if you drop one of the losers early on.
Take an early loss. That's 5,000 people. 5,000 people, and he took 20 grand.
That's crazy.
So, don't be surprised. Anything can happen. Moving on, we have the first fight of the night, Bruno Silva versus JPP'S. JP is a very good wrestler, Matt, making his UFC debut through way of Dana White's Contender Series. You don't see a lot of good wrestlers come out of South Africa, so I figured this is intriguing from the jump for most people, and certainly for me. He's finished 8 of his 9 wins, with his only non-finish being a DQ, so essentially he's been perfect in that regard. I think he's very green in this one. I love his pricing. I love his ability from what I've seen from him, and I love his finish rate. Bruno Silva, on the other hand, comes in at 0-2-1 in the UFC, but really should be 0-3. He lost his no contest fight. I told you he's 0-2-1. That one, he actually lost, but the guy failed a drug test after. So I usually consider that a loss. So he's essentially 0-3 in the UFC.
Right.
Really hasn't been a lot of shining moments in Bruno Silva's career, sans maybe back in the day he had a draw Casey Kenny about 4 years ago. But if your highlight is a draw to a somewhat above average UFC fighter, it's, not too much of a career. So if you want to take him, that's fine. But I'll probably mostly target JP, if anyone in this fight. I'll green light JP, and then I don't know, maybe yellow on Silva.
Okay. JP. All right. So benchmark right now is at 32.8%. And I usually, for anybody watching, I give a benchmark percentage of the top 6 fighters. It gives you a good idea of who's cash viable, who's not. Anybody below that is more GPP. So JP buys 26.3%, Silva 14.5%. I'm assuming, Kevin, after hearing that, it's pretty good leverage potential on Silva. But again, you're more in love with buys, who, by the way, is a good GPP option according to ownership. So both of these are live in terms of big GPPs, I guess you would say. You would agree with that?
Yeah, and especially with like buys is making a UFC debut. Like, I'm
Sure.
not saying this gets lights out. Like, especially at the pricing, that's why I'm not going to red light Silva.
Right,
But
I was about to say, if this is a knockout, if this is a finish, whoever does is going to make the optimal just because of the pricing. Yeah, 8,300, 7,900, definitely.
Pricing's so important, so I agree.
Sure.
Yeah, so moving on, we got Julia Avila versus Julia Stoliarenko. I'll tell you, where I'm not putting my stud money is Julia Avila. She's actually a decent finisher as far as women fighters go, but I thought she looked really sloppy in her last fight against a super pedestrian, Sahara Eubanks. She got beat pretty handily. I'll mark her as yellow just because she is a good finisher and could still make the optimal at 9,200. It's possible. I'll also mark Stoliarenko yellow as the underdog, but I don't think she's a world beater either, and she got absolutely consumed in her last fight against Kunitskaya. So I think she has a puncher's chance against Avila, just because I told you I don't think Avila. I mean, if you can lose to Sahara Eubanks, you can lose to anybody. But yeah, I don't know. Avila also, this is tough. She can cause some issues with her grappling. So I don't know. Or not Avila, Stoliarenko can against Avila. It's just tough, man. I need to hear ownership here. I mean, off recency bias,
Yeah.
I almost want to double red light these girls.
Okay.
But I really don't like either of them. But I mean, you never know. You never know. And there are I think it's 3 women's fights on this card. Last time I did say there was 3 women's fights on the card, and I said I wasn't super confident about one making the optimal. This is a similar situation. This does have the highest finish chance on paper, though.
Okay, so Stoliarenko, hopefully I pronounced that right, 7% ownership, and Avila at 23.1. So both very, very low. When you compare that to the last fight, it's slightly lower than that as well in terms of ownership. So after hearing that, what are your thoughts there?
I would probably just take a little bit of Stoliarenko and avoid Avila and just hope.
Okay. I'll yellow light both of them just for that reason.
Yeah, yellow light both, just because Avila has, I mean, she does have, like I said, she is a good finisher. So that's the one thing that scares me a little bit.
All right.
Yeah, moving on, we have a really weird one.
That's a big. I never seen that with the guys fight. That's a very big spread.
It's a big spread for, like, I don't want to say no reason, but like for less reason than I can understand. Let's put it this way: there's a 9. You'd think I would be all over this, Matt, at a minus 245 finish chance with a favorite this big, but it's funny. I never really heard of Jesse Strader before this, so that helps.
Okay.
But I just had thought to him, he's got to be a wrestler by that name. And I looked him up, and he is, of course. I was like, Jesse Strader just sounds like some good wrestler. Mm-hmm. And he is a wrestling coach. Now, fun fact, he also, this is so random, but he is bizarrely, Aaron Carter? Remember
Aaron Carter? Of course I know Aaron Carter. Yeah. I just saw a recent picture of him, and I was like, what?
Yeah, he looks terrible. But he is boxing now, and he's doing like celebrity boxing, I believe.
Oh, gosh.
And he is going to fight, I want to say Lamar Odom. I could be wrong.
What?
But anyway, this guy's trading him. Jesse Strader's training him. So yeah.
Anything for views, I guess. Whatever.
Yeah, I think it's crazy. But anyway, I was actually pretty impressed with what I've seen from Strader. He looks like a good fighter. And I don't want to count him out just yet. He's got 4 of his 5 wins come by way of knockout, but obviously minus 750 is unreal.
Yeah.
And I don't know, Montel Jackson just he's not been a great finisher, Matt, during his time in the UFC. So 9.4K is so super steep.
It is.
And ownership
Most
is
on the
needed here,
card.
Matt, because I can double yellow both. I could go red both sides. I
Mm.
really don't know. I mean, minus
Mhm.
245 is huge. It's tough because I always almost like Jesse Strader more at the cheaper price and just hope
Sure.
and maybe take a couple punch shots at him. But minus 750 is like you said, that's insane. We don't see that usually, and I'm kind of wondering where that's coming from. I don't see that. I don't think Montel Jackson's a minus 750 guy.
Well, guess what, Kevin? You got your first sharp fade of the day because this is the second highest owned on the slate. So that means play all of them if you're playing cash contests, all with Montel Jackson, and then just fade the heck out of them in GPPs. You have some good takedown potential there. 44.6% ownership on Montel Jackson. Again, Kevin, you know why? Just because the casuals are looking at the spread, they're looking at the odds. They're like, oh, $9,400, sure bet to win. Good finish chance. There you go. Strader, 6.2% owned is the lowest on the card.
Yeah, that's a leverage right there. I mean, Montel Jackson, he's 3-2 in the UFC, Matt, and who he's lost to is like Brett Johns, Ricky Simone. This isn't like, I don't know. It's just not that, like, you know what I mean? It's not like he's losing to, his 2 losses are
It
Aljamain
shouldn't be a
Sterling
minus
and
750
Kirian.
is what you're saying.
Yeah, it's
Right.
just so.
Hey, if you want to throw
some,
$1 on Strader, hey, you heard it from Kevin himself.
throw $1 on Strader, and also at 9,400, again, Montel Jackson, not a great finisher. He's going to have to put a hell of a volume on him to cover that spread.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? That's crazy. 9.4K. That's so much money.
Do you want to go ahead and greenlight Strader then? Throw him in your player pool?
How about we yellow both? We'll yellow both because I still don't know what to do with that.
Sure.
At a minus, I've never been so yellow on a minus 245 finish chance. Seriously, I don't know what to do with that. So let's move on to a fight. It makes more sense to me. Trevin Giles and Roman DeLeeds. Love this fight. This will be the first one to make my love list, Matt. I'll say both guys are coming off kind of weird performances. Both won, but in odd ways. Roman won a split decision where he was fairly dominant. I don't think it should have been a split decision. And Giles was debatably losing his fight before he got the 3rd round finish. So a little weird, but I think both make sense here. I do like Roman more. He's a pretty decent favorite at actually it's shifting a little bit. He was a pretty decent favorite. Now it's shifting a little bit. But he's still a favorite at, $200 more. And I've been more impressed with him as a whole. He's undefeated for a reason. And Giles could make a good pivot off that, though. Has good power. Like I said, I do think he was losing his last fight before he got the finish, so that sticks in my head a little bit too. But I do think both are live. The pricing's awesome. We're looking at a minus 175 finish chance. Both guys hit super hard. What are we looking at for ownership here, Matt?
So ownership's actually both below the benchmark. So GPP worthy, Kevin. I'm sure you love to hear that. $8,200 for Roman, and he's 31.9% owned. And then Giles, right below that. I'm surprised he's not actually higher owned. I'm assuming he will be closer to the lock, but 16.3% ownership. If that stays the same, you love both sides.
Yeah, 100%. 100%. They're going to stay right in my love column there.
It makes perfect sense for me. Straightforward.
Sweet. Let's move on to Leonardo Santos versus Grant Dawson. Another one that's going to make my love list for a couple reasons. This one has a plus 120 finish chance, Matt, so it's actually expected to go the distance. But I'm surprised this fight is so low on the card, Matt. These guys have you're probably going to be very surprised by that. I mean, this is the 8th fight from the top, and these guys have a combined UFC record of 11-0-1. Crazy, right? I mean, that's impressive. Very impressive.
It is impressive.
Both have some fairly big wins under their belts as well. And I think this is a tough one to call. I think both are definitely better grapplers and strikers, but both have shown some knockout power still, especially Santos. I do think Santos is a better grappler technically, like through his ADCC time and more technical on paper, a couple degree black belt. But Dawson is a better wrestler, so he might get to dictate if he even wants the fight to go to the ground or not. I see a couple ways this fight could play out, but I think it could be a high-scoring affair for the winner either way. What's the ownership here, Matt?
Ownership, Dawson is the benchmark, so cash viable, 32.8% ownership at $8,600, and Santos 23.7%, so below that benchmark and GPP viable. What are your thoughts on that?
It makes a lot of sense to me, and I like both. I mean, like I said, I think Grant Dawson might be able to be a little better on his feet and might be able to dictate where this goes. But that being said, he's probably not he's used to being the big dog on the ground. And what happens is you see these good wrestlers and good grapplers, like they take someone down and they don't realize oh, I'm not quite at this level. You know what I mean? So that could happen. And not that he's not very good, but again, Santos is a very highly decorated grappler. So Yeah, I see a side of victory for both guys very easily.
So green light both of them.
Yep.
Alrighty, moving on.
I'll make my love list. Moving on, we got Renau versus Chase on. Kind of two different career trajectories for these women. Marion is on a 3-fight losing streak right now, one away from probably getting cut. Macy's won 4 of her last 5, so a little bit different, hence the pricing and favoritism here. But I will say, Macy has looked pretty good, so I also do get why she's the favorite here. I think this fight is pretty green, Matt, for both sides, though. Renault, like I said, she's on a 3-fight losing streak, and she hasn't been great as of late, but she still has a 50-50 record in the UFC and is actually a pretty damn good finisher. She's hard to finish herself, which obviously raises a couple flags when looking at the more expensive Jason, but Jason has a good pace to her and is a good finisher as well, so you never know. But I think the pricing's appropriate here, and this one is pretty cut and dry. You get a favorite who should win at the right price, and then an underdog who's obviously way cheaper and could win near punt pricing at 7,500.
Macy almost seems, in terms of ownership, a little bit under owned, based on what you just said. So she's only 26.6% owned. Comparing that to Marion, 19.2. So that seems a bit high when you just compare the two, based on your synopsis there.
Yeah, it seems like people are kind of yes and no. It almost seems like people are kind of like buying to what I said. I mean, that's pretty close ownership, and that's kind of how I'd have this too. Okay. So I'm actually surprised. Yeah, it seems like people are like kind of right where I'm at. Like, I don't think necessarily Macy should be carrying much more than her. So what did you say, 26-19 or something?
Yeah, 26-19. Yep.
Yeah. So yeah, that makes sense to me.
Green or red? What am I doing?
You can double green that.
Double green. Alrighty.
Moving on, we got Cheyenne Buys versus Montserrat Conejo. Interesting. I mean, fun fact, this would have blown your mind if I didn't tell you beforehand, Matt, but Cheyenne Buys is in fact the wife of previously mentioned JP Buys.
Yeah.
That makes them the second married couple to ever fight on a UFC card together, Matt.
Interesting.
So yeah, pretty interesting. Yeah, I mean, I can't imagine what it's like seeing your significant other get knocked out and then going to have to fight, so I hope that doesn't happen for them. But I wish I was excited about her as I was for her husband. I'm excited to watch JP fight, but I don't think she has the same kind of tenacity or grit that he has. I watched her fight on Dana White's Contender Series. She got through this into the UFC like her husband through that, and she's in the big leagues now. But I think she looked good, and she should probably win this fight, I think. But I don't think she has the volume to clear her price point in a decision. She certainly doesn't finish fights. So at 9,100, I do have my concerns about her. Okay. But she could definitely be someone who steals, who wins and does okay. There's a plus 175 finish chance here. But I think Conejo could steal a win here at her punt pricing. I'm watching her too. She has a pretty good record. She's a little pit bull. Not a lot of, film on her either. But from what I've seen, I just got a feeling that she can maybe steal one here.
Okay. Conejo is not updated in terms of ownership. So if she really is 0% ownership, you should probably have some shares that will be updated in the morning, guys. All this is subject to change. We always update in the morning for our Patreon members. Buys at 25.7% ownership. So I'm thinking you're not a fan of that ownership.
How much is it?
25.7. That seems a little high based on what you just said.
Yeah, that's pretty high. I mean, I just don't see it. I mean, she's got her literally since her last fight. All of her wins since then, like her first fight ever, all 4 or 5 of her wins have been decisions. So, and she also had a really crappy, I don't know if some people find this more important than others. I like to look at it, especially if they have a newly professional career, which she does. She's only been a pro for 2-3 years. Yeah. Her amateur career was miserable.
Okay.
Miserable. She had whatever.
It's usually opposite, isn't it?
Yeah, usually, I mean, what gets them to this level is, you dusted everyone amateur, right. And then they're like, okay. She was 50-50, maybe more losses than wins.
So how'd you make it?
So, bro, I don't know. That's what I mean. She's doing a better professionally, but still, I don't know. So definitely something that there's a lot of red flags on her for a reason.
Yeah, that's what steroids do. All right, moving on.
Moving on, we got Keenan Song versus Max Griffin. Historically speaking, Max Griffin does not do much. He can get some takedowns, which can lead to a pretty okay scoring performance, but usually he stays under 100 total strikes landed, and even worse when it comes to significant strikes. He has a little bit of power and can knock people out, so I'll keep him yellow and certainly wouldn't say fade Max Griffin just because of his pricing, and he can knock people out. I'm just looking at that plus 150 finish chance and wondering to myself how he's going to score in a decision. He's not, and I don't think it's well. Song, on the other hand, Matt, Green Boy will make my love list. That may make you want to take some more Griffin too. If you're one of those people you want to target a fight,
sure,
and you're taking a crap ton of Song, then maybe you want to hedge your bets a little bit and take a lot of Griffin on the other side. That being said, I do like Song more. He has a really good finish rate, always chases the finish, much higher pace to him, and I think he's got a real puncher's chance, and he's very talented as well. So I would not be shocked if he won as the plus 155 underdog.
All right, Song and Griffin are split in ownership, so that's the one thing it looks like the public agrees with, Kevin. So, but they're still both very low owned, 22.6% ownership. Song is literally 1% less at 21.6, so it's split.
That's great.
Yeah.
I think that's good.
Yeah,
we can work with that. I would definitely say to target that fight at a good click then.
Yep, and they're again both GPP worthy.
Yep, 100%.
All right, we in the final four now. Final four stretch.
Final four.
All
yeah,
right.
This is Matt. This is also a 12-fight slate when we've been doing like 15s.
Yeah.
So
I'm like, what? We're breezing right through this thing.
Yeah. Also, when we did like 3 title fights in one. I also saw something the other day that was like, I think you'll find this interesting, from a spectator standpoint. It was explaining how the UFC needs Conor McGregor, and
I saw that too.
You saw that too. The numbers from the 3 title fight card, and then the one with him and Cerrone. Yeah, crazy, right? I think it was like 1.3 million for him versus Cerrone on some like last minute crappy
It just
card.
goes to show you, man, personalities make athletes too. It's not just the talent, because if it was about talent, nobody'd be watching McGregor after what happened. So
yeah, a lot of people want to see him win, a lot of people want to see him lose.
Yeah.
That's gonna make you, Mike Tyson was the same way.
Absolutely.
People want to see him win, half of them want to see him lose. So it's interesting. But moving on, we have Adrian Yanez versus Gustavo Lopez. This is an awesome target, Matt, and I think you got to go heavy ownership here. Both guys are super good finishers. There's a minus 200 finish chance for that reason. They both had some pretty impressive moments in their short UFC careers. I think Yanez is the rightful favorite, being on a 5-fight win streak and 1-0 in the UFC. That said, I've been impressed with what I've seen from Lopez as well. He's a very good wrestler, has transitioned to some elite grappling as well. I think Yanez should pose a real threat on his feet, but could be in trouble if this goes to the ground. So I think you jump all over this. As a classic, striker versus grappler, potential here, and both really good finishers. This one's pretty cut and dry. Okay,
Yanez, going to be a cash option, 41.5% ownership, which I believe, let me just fact check, third highest on the slate. So I'm assuming that makes sense to you too, Kevin.
It does.
Lopez, though, very low at 20.7, so huge leverage potential there.
Yeah, I'd tack both in GPPs. I wouldn't probably go near Yanez even in cash. I mean, I think there's some better options around that pricing, and I'll talk about one next, but it's very volatile fight here. I mean, like I said, he goes to the ground, he might be in trouble. So
all right, love to hear that.
I think I like both for GPP. Moving on, we have Tai Tuivasa versus Harry Hunsucker. This was an opponent change. It's supposed to be, I believe, Dontel Mays versus Tai Tuivasa. The opponent change helps him a lot. I don't believe you have pricing there, Matt. Does Harry Hunsucker have a price?
I was just scrambling because I was like, I'm not following what he's saying. Yeah, they don't have pricing for him.
Okay, cool. I don't think they will. I didn't think they did either.
Put me in panic mode.
Yeah, well, Tai Tuivasa, he'll be the only one you can take in this fight. I'll tell you, I love it. He's going from he's $8,900, same price, but he's going from minus 210 to a minus 400 for the same pricing. Yep. So that's obviously insane. 8,900 is great. There's no pricing for Hunsucker, so you can't take him. But I'm going to put Tai as a core play. I think he's going to carry a crap ton of ownership because of that.
I was about to say the ownership doesn't look updated on him because it looks a little bit low, and it looks like it was updated before that. He was 34.7% ownership before, and after hearing what you just said, he's going to skyrocket.
He's got to jump. I mean, especially where like there's a minus 320 finish chance in this fight too, Matt. I just don't see a world where this doesn't end in a finish.
Almost looks like a free square, honestly.
Yeah, it kind of does, and that's where I think like I mean, I don't know what your exposure is to. The good thing is, without Hunsucker, if you're trying to be contrarian, you don't need to have Hunsucker. You just need to not take Tai. You know what I mean?
That's a good point. Right.
If you want to be contrarian, so that could be something you might want to do.
Great point, Kevin. Great point. I like that.
Thank you. Yeah, I mean, so if you, it's not as, that's the problem when you want to fade someone big. And it's like, okay, well, does that mean if I'm fading him, do I have to take the guy he's fighting?
Absolutely
Well,
not.
now you don't need to worry about that. So, but yeah. Also worth noting though, Hunsucker's losses, all of them have come by way of knockout. So I do expect, gun in my head, that Ty knocks him out.
Sure.
So I'm gonna definitely include him in a lot of my player pool.
All right.
Moving on, we got Gregor Gillespie. Gonna try to keep versus Brad Riddell. Gonna try to keep my bias off this one. I'm a huge Gregor Gillespie fan. I used to watch this guy wrestle back when I was in middle school. But that being said, he's had a very successful MMA and UFC career. He's coming off his first loss against a tough Kevin Lee. That was a brutal loss. He got the head kicked. Other than that, he's won all 6 of his other UFC fights and has finishes in 11 of his 13 professional wins. So definitely someone we like to target. I think he's super live, has a great pace and gas tank. And if someone, is to not get a finish, I think he can score pretty well with his wrestling and his pace. That being said, I think Brad Riddell is definitely going to be in my punt column. He's 3-0 in the UFC and has some solid power too. Gregor is also coming off that rough highlight reel knockout I talked about. He got kicked in the head and hasn't fought since 2019. So he could be a little slow out the gate if that's something you believe in, ring rust and that such. So very, very green fight here for both guys, in my opinion, Matt.
All right, Gillespie makes it into that cash range, 37.7% ownership, and Riddell at 24% ownership, so in that GPP range. So looks like another slate breaker if this is an upset.
Yep, and I like both of them, so pretty cut and dry.
Cool. Moving on. Last but not least.
Moving on to the main event. Got to go 100% on this main event, in my opinion.
Okay.
Yeah, if you're making a ton of lineups, you might want to fade it, as we just talked about, Matt. We're big on fading main events here for the leverage.
You could get another eye poke in there, yep.
You never, exactly. I literally wrote in my thing here, I wrote, an eye poke, a groin shot, a legal knee, or even a draw could blow up any fight. So don't think it can't happen. That being said, the pricing here and the fighters, my goodness, this fight is a fan's wet dream, Matt. This is going to be a lot of fun.
Explains the ownership.
Explains the ownership.
Yeah.
I mean, there's a minus 225 finish chance. These guys hit friggin' hard. I will give myself credit for Kevin Holland being on that train early. Talked about his talent level way back, and loved his first fight this year. He actually broke or tied, Matt, the UFC record with most wins in a calendar year this year with 5. So, or in 2020. So pretty interesting. But yeah, he's been super active. We know his name very well here. Like I said, I'll give myself credit for being on the hype train early there. That being said, I will take credit for myself for not giving Derek Brunson a good enough chance in his last fight. As, to be honest, after I watched him against Izzy about 2-3 years ago, I was kind of felt like I knew where Derek Brunson was, like capped out. Like, oh, he's a good wrestler, he's got some hands, but he's capped. Boy, did he not look capped in his last fight against Edmund. He looked friggin' lights out, and that was August. So he looks great. I think he's very live here. He's, like I said, good wrestler, stupid power, and I think this is going to be a friggin' blast. I think these guys are going to swing. I think they're going to talk trash to each other. I think it's going to be a fun fight. I think, but you really don't know what's going to happen between these two monsters.
Right.
If it didn't end in a finish, Matt, I would probably say it's stackable, but I really would be shocked if it didn't end in a finish.
I was about to say, because Brunson's actually pretty low in terms of ownership, 31.6% ownership when you compare that to Holland, 52.1, which is the highest on the slate. Surprise, surprise.
Yep.
Pricing could definitely be a slate breaker, so I think you do take one or the other. It's giving Vegas is giving Holland a 60% chance to win, so Brunson is definitely live in terms of Vegas. So yeah, this is another cut dry fight. You got to take one of each side and pray. I guess that's how it goes here with this card in general. But
I'm not gonna sleep on Brunson anymore. I still like Holland more, but I'm not gonna just I probably historically would have gone a lot heavier on Holland.
It's reflective in the ownership. It's reflective in the price. It's reflective in the Vegas odds. It all makes sense. Yep. All right,
let's
Kevin.
run through these, Matt.
Yeah, we are under 35 minutes right now. Can we do it? Can we stay within that range?
Let's try.
Do it.
So core plays, Tai Tuivasa, too good to pass up at that price, win chance and finish chance. You can put Holland in there if you want. I'm still going to put him in MVP, but you can throw him there if you want.
Be very high on. Yeah, I'll put him in there too.
Yeah, he's going to be super high up. So big power, but also throw Brunson in there. Big power from both guys. 5-round main event with great pricing from both. We got Giles and Delidze. Big finish chance, should carry decent pace. This is my GPP column now. Santos and Dawson, both good finishers, and this could be a stand and bang affair with both guys being such good grapplers. I also really like the pricing. Song, great pricing, great win chance, and great finish chance. I do like him. Like I said, you might want to pivot some max in there too if you're going to take a lot of Song, but I'm really looking at Song more. Yanez and Lopez, both guys have been impressive in their short UFC stints, and I like the ability of both guys. Gregor Gillespie, awesome pace, good pay up option here. It might be a good pivot off of Ty. For my punts, Conejo, I think she has a legit 50-50 shot, and at 7.1K, that's good enough for me. And then Riddell, undefeated in the UFC, still 3-0, and Gillespie's coming off that tough loss, so you never know.
All right. That being said, it looks like all of these fights remain live because we didn't red light any of them. So GPPs, guys, up in the air. Take one side or the other. Pray. And hope you guys can take down another contest. If you did enjoy this, guys, please do hit that subscribe button, notification bell. Of course, smash that like button for all of our future MMA content. With all that being said, have a great rest of your day. Let's cash.